Today, I want to share my experience after using the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 for the past month. The Z Flip 7 resolves many of the concerns from previous flip phones with its much better cover screen, less visible crease, and smaller hinge. But there is one pretty major thing that I'm less happy about. This video will cover everything you need to know. While the design upgrade to the Z Flip 7 is not as game-changing as on the Z Fold 7 that I reviewed in my previous video, the Z Flip 7's design is still a notable improvement compared to last year's Flip 6. For starters, the Flip 7 now starts with 256GB of storage. This is double that of the previous Flip 6, while still starting at the same price. It is also thinner, now 7.5mm versus 7.9mm when unfolded, and this is a difference that you do feel in the hand. Now, what stood out to me especially is this much smaller hinge. It is now more compact, so it doesn't stick out as much of the phone, making this already portable phone even more portable. And then when it is closed, there is no visible gap, and this will help keep out dust and lint, especially important on a folding phone. In the hand, to me, the hinge also feels more sturdy as it snaps firmly into place when you open it and then when the phone is closed. And I mean, is there a more satisfying way to end the call? So the hinge looks to be more durable, but is this enough? Now, I'll talk more about my thoughts on durability in a bit. But first, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever had a flip phone before, or are you thinking of getting your first? And if you are enjoying this video so far, a like and a sub to the channel would be amazing. Alright, so now for my favorite upgrade of the Z Flip 7, that is the new cover screen. It is now larger, going from 3.4 inches up to 4.1 inches. And from a usability perspective, this really makes a night and day difference. The bezels are also razor thin. The screen literally wraps around the cameras and looks super clean and sharp. The screen itself is now better too, with the specifications much more closely matching that of the main display. It is an OLED panel, 120Hz and 2600 nits of brightness, so compared to the cover screen on the Flip 6, it is bigger, smoother, and brighter outdoors. And this has resulted in me using the cover screen on the Flip 7 more compared to previous generations. For example, I use it for widgets to quickly complete a task like check off a reminder or go through my notifications. You can even run full screen applications like YouTube, Chrome, or messaging apps. Now, this feature is not available by default, but there is a way to unlock this, and I show you how to do this step by step in my Z Flip 7 first 27 things to do video, which helps you get the most out of this awesome phone. I'll leave that video linked at the end of this video as well as down in the description. But to me, where the cover screen shines the most is to use it as a live camera preview. This lets you use the main back cameras for best quality selfies and videos, but I'll talk more about cameras in a bit. But first, let's talk about this main display, which too saw some pretty notable upgrades. So on the Flip 7, it is now bigger at up to 7.9 inches versus 7.7 inches on the Flip 6. Samsung have also slightly amended the proportion, so the main display is a touch wider, and this makes it more pleasant to type on and means you get less black bars when watching full screen video. And well, the quality of the main display is just excellent. Colors pop on this OLED panel, it has a smooth 120Hz variable refresh rate, and like on the cover screen, it gets up to 2600 nits of brightness to clearly see out in the sun. One thing I will say is that I wish that the bezels were a bit thinner and also more flat so that you'd feel them less when, say, swiping from the edges of the screen. Now, I recognize that this comes with the territory of folding phones and you do get used to it, but when you compare the Flip 7 to the S25 or the Ultra, it does stand out. Now, what I was glad to see is that I could see the crease less on the Flip 7, and I've used the Flip 6, 5, and 4, and I can tell you that the crease on the Flip 7 is much less visible. You see it less with reflections when the screen is off, and when you're using the phone, you feel it less too, since the crease is more shallow than before. Don't get me wrong, the crease is still there, but it is vastly improved over previous gens. And I have to say, switching back to a flip phone, particularly this Flip 7, has been such a joy. Having a phone that is so compact that can then unfold to a full-size 7.9-inch smartphone remains to be something special. When closed, the Flip 7 is half the size of an S25 Ultra or 16 Pro Max, albeit a bit thicker, and you really feel this difference in the pocket. It is just more comfortable, you barely notice it's even there. And ladies, women's clothes, for whatever reason, always seem to have very small pockets, if any at all, and for that, the form factor of the Flip 7 is ideal. In fact, I even handed the Flip 7 to my wife and she really liked it. But she currently uses an iPhone, so just asked me when Apple is going to be making one. And now for a reality check, I want to talk about an important point on any folding phone, and that is durability. The Flip 7, like any folding phone, is simply not going to be as durable as, say, a non-folding phone like, for example, the S25 or the iPhone 16. And this is due to two factors. First, the display. The main screen on this phone is softer when compared to a non-folding phone, and you do feel this when you're using it. To put this into perspective, you can permanently damage the screen with just your fingernails. And then second is, of course, the hinge. Now, Samsung does improve the durability of their hinges every year, and this is great. However, from what I've seen with friends who own folding phones, examples online, and from reading your comments, mileage really does vary. For some, their flips last for years, while others get permanent damage right where the screen folds after sometimes just 1 year. My advice is to use this phone with a bit more care to help it last. Now, to be fair, my Flip 7 has held up really well for the past month, but we'll have to wait and see how it holds up after 6 months, even a year, so be sure to subscribe to not miss my long-term review. Okay, this brings me to the camera, which is actually the same as last year. The Flip 7 takes the exact camera system from the Flip 6, a 50 megapixel main sensor and a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor with still no telephoto. The main camera is still solid, providing good dynamic range, decent detail and sharpness, and focus is accurate and fast. The Flip 7 may not have a telephoto camera, but you can use the 2x mode on the main camera to get a great 2x zoom, ideal for portrait or product photography. Though once you zoom in beyond 3x, I would say the sharpness does begin to fall off. The ultra-wide lens is strong, with a nice wide perspective with color science that closely matches that of the main lens, making swapping lenses a breeze. The one small camera upgrade that the Flip 7 does get is it can now record log video, but even the standard video mode that you're looking at right now is solid. 4K 60f footage is great for social media and for capturing special moments, but won't match that of the S25 Ultra or the 16 Pro Max. But the Flip 7 does offer some really unique camera features that only it has. My favorite of which is using the cover screen as a live preview. We touched on this earlier, but this really is awesome for two reasons. One, you see exactly what you're capturing, and two, in this mode, since you're using the main lenses, you get the best quality selfies and videos when compared to using the selfie camera. And now, since the cover screen is larger, you can actually do more, like switching between lenses and pinch to zoom. Capturing videos and photos on the Flip 7 is just fun, and since the phone is so small, you can quickly grab it at a moment's notice to capture the shot. But here's the one thing I wasn't so happy to see: the choice of processor. You see, unlike the Flip 6, which came with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor, the Flip 7 comes with a Exynos 2500 chip. Now, Samsung has switched between the two chips over the years, but what has become clear also to me as a reviewer who's reviewed many different Samsung phones over that time is that the Exynos processors tend to not quite have the same performance as well as efficiency as the Snapdragon chips. And this is demonstrated in the benchmarks, where comparing the Flip 7's Exynos 2500 chip to the older Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip from the Flip 6, the Flip 7 scores around the same. And well, this means that with the Flip 7, you don't actually get much of an improvement in performance, and this is something that we don't really see these days. To be clear, the performance is not bad. The Flip 7 still keeps up well with day-to-day tasks, even in things like split-screen multitasking, but if you're an avid gamer or edit lots of photos and videos, this may not be your best option. It is important to note though that Samsung do promise up to 7 years of software support and updates for the Flip 7, and this is great to see so long as the hardware keeps up. And now let's talk about battery. So the Flip 7's battery is actually larger at 4300 mAh versus 4000 mAh on the Flip 6, but tests show that you get pretty much the same battery life as on the Flip 6 with no notable improvement. And this is likely due in large part to the use of that Exynos chip on the Flip 7, which historically haven't been as efficient as the Snapdragon chips. So what does a real day of moderate use look like? Well, for me, the Flip 7 does last me all day, but I end the day with around 10 to 15% remaining, so on longer days or say travel days, you'll want to bring a power bank. The Flip 7 charges at up to 25 watts wired and 15 watts wirelessly, and does still have the power share feature to quickly charge your Galaxy Buds right from your phone. I do think Samsung have done a great job at optimizing One UI 8 to take advantage of the Flip 7's form factor. Now, I've already shown you a few examples throughout this video, but there's a couple more that I would love to highlight. The cover screen can be endlessly customized with new wallpapers, widgets, as well as fonts, all to really make the Flip 7 your own. You can also prop up your Flip 7, and using Flex Mode, the UI will pull up playback controls and a trackpad to use your Flip like a mini laptop. I also really like the new 95/5 split screen mode. This lets you instantly switch and cycle between two recent apps. The Flip 7 is also the first flip to support Samsung DeX, and this will give you a desktop experience on any monitor that you plug it into. And like with the rest of Samsung's line, there's some handy AI features, such as generative AI photo editing to remove objects from your images, or use Gemini Live and through the camera get instant feedback on whatever you point your phone at. This is all really cool stuff, and together round off the Flip 7 experience. Okay, so ultimately, should you buy the Flip 7? Well, all things considered, the Flip 7 brings some big upgrades to the design, cover screen, and main display compared to last year's Flip 6. I really enjoyed my time using this phone. It is not perfect, as I've covered, but again, having a phone that is so compact and that can unfold to turn into a full-size smartphone that rests so comfortably in your pocket really is appealing. Plus, the Flip 7 is just plain fun to use, and this is not something I can say about most other phones. I'd say if you're looking to upgrade your Flip 3, 4, or looking to get your first flip phone, then the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 is going to be your best choice out right now in this flip phone category. And as always, I will leave the purchase links down in the description. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on the Z Flip 7. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if you have any questions at all. And if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you check out my Z Flip 7 first 27 things to do video to get the most out of this phone. And also check out my Fold 7 review if you're looking for a bigger and also more expensive folding phone. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Look at this. Look. Oh, wow.